kama kawaida tuko hapa kila asubuhi. This is the morning cafe. Jina langu ni Fred Ndimuli. How hot is the coffee where you are?
And jina langu ni Stanley Nyuringito. You're about to have a terrific Tuesday. This is Biashara Tuesday. A lot to discuss matters smart investments, and coming up a little bit later on around 9 a.m. some agribusiness. But before that, the main conversation for today.
Oh yes, tutachangamka. State of the nation. Big discussions today. Cabinet vetting coming up later in the week. And if you see the headlines today, utajua kwa nini itabidi tuzungumze. David Kiplagat, MP Soi, will be in studio alongside former members of Parliament Jude Njomo and Joe Mutambu of Kiambu Town and Mwingi Central, respectively. You don't want to miss that conversation.
And what I was telling you, building wealth on a monthly income. Jacqueline Mwangi, a financial advisor. But don't worry, even if you don't have a monthly income, how do you also make that smart investing as well? Into the headlines, when Fred anasema, they're quite interesting. Just a two-word.
Yes.
My
kind of headline.
Tight corner.
Yes.
The choice of photo pia ni mzuri sana.
Amefweka kwa corner.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago it was the president in a tight corner. Now it's Gachagua'S, his deputy, in a tight corner. That's the front page of the Standard this morning. A longer headline on the Daily Nation revealed 54 billion shilling Ruto budget waste.
Ukionanga tu revealed, unakuanga umeambiwa sit down.
54 billion ngapi?
How many schools can you...
You know, 1 billion is 1 million times 1,000.
Wow.
Yeah? So 54 is 1 million shillings times 54,000. I don't know jokes. It's a Daily Nation.
Ruto to hii nani refu. Iwacha to breathe in and out kwanza. Ruto to splash PS slots and appoint Raila allies.
Tulikuwa tunajua hiyo, nothing new there on the Star.
My gov pick up ndani. Raila rips big from Gen Z sacrifices. People Daily continuing to do the Lord's work. Oh yes,
this is the longest headline on the People Daily in recent days. They've been doing two-word headlines. Azimio ni mahututi. Wamekuja sana lakini sawa tu.
Inafanana na ile was it on Friday when ile ya People Daily Azimio dead.
Azimio ni mahututi. At least they're still alive. Ile dead walikuwa wamaliza. Taifa Leo, Matters Business.
Insurers hit as protests add to losses from recent floods. Let's talk about the whole political situation in the country.
Yes, those are the local dailies. Let's cross the borders and into Uganda. This way, that way. I like such a headline. You know, you want to read, what exactly are you talking about? So on the Daily Monitor in Uganda, they're saying that a total of 36 members of the Forum for Democratic Change Party, Forum for Democratic Change, Nigeria sound kama Ford. Ford ni Forum for Restoration of Democracy. So in the Forum for Democratic Change Party were yesterday charged by Nakawa Chief Magistrates Court and remanded just days after Mr. Paul Mugisha, the Director of Liaison and Protocol at External Security Organization, had said the group was not under arrest. So which is which? But an even more disturbing story there on the front page. There's a box there and the coroner there, he has laid out some skulls, human skulls, including some that look like they are from children, and they're asking the question, whose skulls? That's the picture on down there, if you can just scroll down the photo on the front page of the Daily Monitor.
Seeing some of 17 human skulls recovered.
In someone's house?
Yes, in someone's house.
That's big news in Uganda this morning.
Still in Uganda, the front page of the New Vision, government sets tough targets for districts. It's a list of approved performance standards inside. Other headlines, the First Lady challenges artists to be exemplary role models. Okay. That is just but a nutshell of what is happening in
Not very Uganda. Interesting headlines in Uganda today. In Tanzania, tuanze na gazeti la Mwananchi, migomo kufumua mifumo ya kikodi. So there are still demos or... Okay, migomo ni strikes. Strikes linked to taxes in Tanzania. Rais Samia kuunda kamati maalum ya maboresho baada ya wafanyabiashara kutema nyongo. Kumbuka hiyo kutema nyongo. Umetema nyongo inamaanisha nini?
Nimesahau.
Umeamua umekata kauli.
Umekata kauli.
Hii sasa hii kama mbaya. Wakumbusha akaunti zao zilizofungwa na hela kuchotwa. Masuala ya ushuru kule Tanzania kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Mwananchi.
Still in Tanzania, the front page of the Citizen, costly settlements expose Tanzania's legal loopholes. There's a quote there by the Tanzania Trade and Investment Coalition Executive Director saying, while the government's goal was to protect domestic resources, there's a whole need to reassess bilateral investment treaties to avoid conflicts. Also, contracts need to be reviewed to address restrictive clauses and, where possible, amend them.
Okay. But I think this headline down here would be of more interest to Kenyans and travelers who go to Zanzibar. They say concerns mount over Zanzibar's new $44 mandatory travel insurance fee. Tour operators, hoteliers and tourists argue that this additional charge will negatively affect tourist inflows, making the island less competitive compared to other destinations. I know enough people would want to travel to Zanzibar, visit Zanzibar, but yes, there's now a mandatory $44 travel insurance fee. So kama unapanga kwenda huko, $44 ni pesa ngapi hivi? It's almost 5,000 bob.
Okay.
Yes, 5,000 shillings plus for insurance.
So begin on that. Those are as far as the dailies go. We'll be back to take a look at the local dailies.
Let's take a look at the traffic situation in Nairobi. Okay. Hata inakaa kama kuna traffic pale kwa internet. It's a slow morning today. Nothing much to report on Thika Road. Even Pangani Interchange is still yet to wake up. It's still green all the way into town. Kuna nyingine hapa.
Leo unakumbuka leo ni Tuesday.
Only ni Tuesday. Oh, but hakuna maandamano leo.
Who said?
At least you go road.
Who said? Who said so? I'll be telling you about that in the day.
Okay.
Kuna kitu imepangwa, I'll be telling you.
At least Jogoo Road looks normal. There opposite Buruburu and Makadara, Mbotela area, it's building up. You can see mahali matatu usimama, traffic ishaanza build up, and as you get closer to the City Stadium roundabout, you can see it's building up as well. Thika Road is slow today, I don't know why. Let's take a look at the southern part of the city. Mombasa Road from Mlolongo, Imara Daima, past Next Gen into town. Nafikiri upande hakuna internet.
Ndio
imetokelezea. So far so good. The expressway only slows down a bit when you get to the Nyayo Stadium area, but after that everything is smooth all the way. Mbagathi Way from the Timol roundabout is a bit slow as you go up towards City Mortuary roundabout, but we don't know exactly what's happening there. It's just a bit slow, not on a standstill, but slow. The rest of Mbagathi Way is good. Jogoo Road is looking, not Jogoo Road, Ngong Road is looking good. Apart from that, T junction or cross junction at Adams and Prestige Plaza. The other road, I think Wayaki is looking good as well. I'd seen a bit of a slowdown once you get to the beginning of the bypass, but that appears to have cleared up. So even if you want to use the bypass across the city from that direction, it's looking good as well. So that's the traffic situation in Nairobi this morning.
Let's take a look at the weather situation in different parts of the country and see, tuanze na Nairobi, 16 degrees Celsius. Yes, that is Nairobi. They say precipitation for today about 10%. That means that chances of it raining. Now getting into the day, it's going to be cloudy. So yes, you need that jacket. Wear warmly as you leave the house this morning. It's going to be cloudy. And then, Russia, as you leave the house, make sure that you have that umbrella because it is going to get rainy today. From the noon, from about the afternoon, 12 hadi majioni, thunderstorms and precipitation as high as 60%. So chances of this raining today, if you're in Nairobi and its environs, be keen on that. Lows of about 13 degrees Celsius. That is in Nairobi. Let me take you to Twende Bungoma, Kupunkoma. 18 degrees Celsius, and they say right now it's kuna manyunyu kidogo, some light showers. 50% as well as 70%. This is going to reduce during the day. Just remain cloudy and then get rainy as of around 3 p.m. huko and into the night. So lows of 18 degrees Celsius and highs of 24. But then leo Bungoma, kama umefua nguo leo, ole wako kwa sababu nguo zitakauka kesho. In Titondei, 19 degrees Celsius, also cloudy, but then it promises to get warmer. Highs of 30 degrees Celsius, some good weather there. And finally, in Wajir, into the northern part of the country, let's see how it is going to be. Highs of 24 degrees Celsius.
Actually, lows of 24 degrees.
Oh, that's the lows. But right now it's 24. Highs are going to be as high as 33 into the evening.
24. Nairobi is not even going to get to 24 today.
That is how things are looking like when it comes to the weather updates in different parts of the country. You can also check out Kenya Meteorological Department and see how things are going to be looking like. Nijipange mapema mapema. Speaking of how things are going to be looking like, let's tell you what to expect in our news bulletins as well as our digital platforms for today. So first off, on our news diary, quite a lot is happening in the National Assembly as well as the Senate for today. So first off, in the National Assembly, the Finance and Planning Committee of National Assembly, led by Chair Kuria Kimani, will today be tabling the report on President's memo resigning the Finance Bill 2024. Stick around for quite some interesting sound bites from that as well. On to the next page. Baki bado bunge do expect the supplementary appropriation bill still in the National Assembly. It is going to be beginning consideration of the supplementary appropriation bill today. So the supplementary appropriation bill basically seeks to authorize issuance of certain sums of money from the consolidated fund. So the supplementary estimates proposes a significant reduction to the executive, legislature, judiciary, and constitutional commissions, as well as counties. That's to be expected today, so stick around for that. And now let's get into the Senate and see what to expect. So first off, something interesting that will be for today, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill, which was sponsored by a nominated senator, that is Raphael Chimera, which basically seeks to amend Article 180 of the Constitution and just seek to bar governors who have served the full term not to seek an elective position, either in Parliament or County Assembly. This will be discussed today for the second reading. Also, the Law of Succession Amendment Bill, sponsored by Senator Veronica Maina, will also be coming up, resuming for the second reading debate. That coming up. And Fred Julkuno uliza story ya maandamano. This is what is going to be happening today. So a lobby group called Operation Linda Jamii has planned a nationwide march scheduled today. So this particular march seeks to have protesters present their petitions to State House, not only in Nairobi. They'll also be heading to state lodges in Mombasa, Kisumu, Sagana, Nyeri, Eldoret, Nakuru, Kakamega, and Kitale. So this particular, the court documents that I saw, and they seek to have, they had notified actually the Inspector General of Police now, Douglas Kanja, of this planned march, seeking to have the police to facilitate our protesters in this peaceful procession. Yep. So we wait to see how this will be, if at all, other Kenyans will be joining Linda Jamii.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, that is what to expect today.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Today in history right now.
History. On the 30th of July 2010, a Ugandan court charged 3 Kenyans with 76 counts of murder for the July 11 bomb attacks that killed 76 people who had gathered to watch the final World Cup match in the Ugandan capital, Kampala.
All right, time now for us to take a look at the dailies this morning, and ni kama umesema tuanze na hii, ni sawa?
Tuanze na mahututi.
Azimio ni mahututi. So siku chache baada ya Karua kujiondoa, chama cha PNU pia chaamua kuagana na muungano wa upinzani.
Na wamedokeza kile ambacho viongozi walisema.
Viongozi tofauti, kuna Kalonzo Musyoka wa Wiper, Martha Karua wa na Kenya, Peter Munya wa PNU, Eugene Wamalwa wa DAP na Jeremiah Kioni wa chama cha Jubilee. So far PNU na Kenya wamesema watajiondoa, wale wengine bado wako pale. Hii baada ya ODM kukiri kuwa inashirikiana na serikali ya Rais Ruto kwa kuruhusu viongozi wake 4 kuteuliwa katika baraza la mawaziri. Muungano huo umebaki na vyama 4 vikuu, Wiper, Jubilee, DAP Kenya na Chungwa. Vitatu vinatishia ODM. Je, ndoa yao itadumu? Swali pale. Vidokezo zaidi pale chini. Kuna masuala ya spoti, Manchester United kuhama uga wa Old Trafford. Fate of dreams imeenda imeisha.
Tumeona hapa.
Even Arsenal moved from Highbury to the Emirates Stadium.
Kini bado.
Tuko tu sawa.
Ni kama Old Trafford ndio kidogo inatufanyia kitu.
Theatre of dreams. You need reality. Masuala ya siasa, SUPKEM yaunga mazungumzo na kwingineko Joho suluhu ya base titanium wakazi waamini. Unajua wewe ndio nomini wa mining. Pale juu kwenye gazeti hili la Taifa Leo, mwili wa kijana aliyetoweka wapatikana, maiti ya Ondwari yapatikana ndani ya choo jijini. Kwingineko ombi la Raila lawasilishwa rasmi AUC. Kiongozi wa ODM ana kibarua kigumu cha kuteuliwa kinara wa Afrika. Habari yenyewe, habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa 3. Hizi ndizo habari zilizopewa kipaumbele kwenye gazeti hili la Taifa Leo.
From Taifa Leo, let's take a look at People Daily, and they say Raila rips big from Gen Z sacrifices. Raila, they pictured the ODM leader Raila Odinga. They call it opportunism after taking the bullet for Ruto amidst protests by youths in which some paid with their blood. State formally tables as mere leaders bid for AU top position. There's some sound bites saying that he might be ready to even resign and get out of the competition. But ni kama ilikuwa Japanese. Do you know what Japanese is?
Yes, stories are Jaba.
Good.
I'm with it.
I have taught you how to be a Gen Z. Other headlines. This one, yes, this was happening yesterday. The Paralympics. Samba girls beat Kenya's Malkia strikers. Brazilians ran over volleyball queens. Yes.
So our volleyball team suffered its first loss at the Olympics.
Oh yes. Speak of Paralympics, there are no Kenyan events today, but there's something coming up. Okay. Tomorrow the athletics team is also preparing. Head out there. So you ndio sasa tunangojea. Other headlines, maneno ya Kenya Power, queries raised over 2.9 billion Kenya shillings Kenya Power meters deal. All right, you can read that on I think page 13, and something interesting here. They say Elephant Man walks to Addis. He's a Kenyan conservation champion, says his safari aimed to raise public awareness on poaching, habitat loss, and human-wildlife conflict. That is Elephant Man.
All right.
On a light note, akiwa kwa room, and people want to address him, they say, let's address the elephant in the room. You know, People Daily just for you.
Leo ni Star, leo ni Tuesday. So my Gov iko pale.
Yes, pale ndani katika.
And it's a free copy of the Star.
Yes.
Plus my Gov. So Ruto to slash PS slots and appoint Raila allies. This headline is on another daily, I think, on the People Daily as well on the front page. They've mentioned the fact that even PSs, after the reorganization of the cabinet, even PSs will have to be reorganized. Under 40, President expected to announce changes after MPs approve cabinet. Remember, the vetting of cabinet nominees begins later this week, I think in 2 days' time. Head of state wants a lean, efficient government as demanded by protesters. Now, the Star has also placed images or pictures of people who are still missing following the demonstrations, pain, anxiety for families with missing loved ones, and some of those people, including Boniface Ogutu and Daniel Kabusho, still missing.
There's Lydia there.
Yes.
Lydia
just Akuko. Among the many people who are still missing, and the pictures are there on the front page. And that's the Star this morning. Other highlights, how Ruto Raila pact will weaken accountability. Hunger levels in Kenya stubbornly high, according to the UN. And shortage of day-old chicks hits poultry farmers hard. Kuku hazitoshi. Now that's the kind of news that worries me. We have a shortage of chicken.
That is the Star for you. Let's take a look at Daily Nation. Revealed. I was saying, whenever you see revealed, be prepared. 54 billion Kenya shillings Ruto budget waste. So they call it an extravagance because definitely it is. An analysis of government expenditure reveals at least 54 billion Kenya shillings wasteful spending, explaining President William Ruto's directive to state agencies to slash huge allocations to hospitality, travel, confidential kitties, and overlapping roles. They have a breakdown there of the wasteful expenditure in the voting financial year 2023-2024 in different sectors that I have mentioned. Other headlines that you need to know. Pale chini, KRA, that is the Kenya Revenue Authority, allowed D candidates into flawed job interviews. Yes, isame Kenya kuna kazi. The Kenya Revenue Authority interviewed academic failures, interesting choice of words there, for revenue service assistant positions it filled last year. It has exposed more weaknesses in the exercise that has since been quashed by the High Court for being unconstitutional. More coverage of that is on the back page. Tungeangalia hiyo lakini palage wetu wa physicals bado hajaleta. Other headlines pale juu on the top strip. First off, what will be happening on Thursday, the 1st of August. Unakumbuka nilikwambia 1st of August ni nini nyingine? It's Girlfriend's Day. I'll keep on reminding you and the viewer.
I keep forgetting.
Appeal task for CS nominees amid public objections. Page 8, and State at Last submits Raile's bid for Africa Union Commission, drops it. That happened yesterday. That they also make mention of protesters found dead, others missing.
Franklin Ondwari, he went missing on July 17th during the anti-government protests in Nairobi County, only to be found dead in a toilet. And there's image there on the front page of the Daily Nation.
Oh yes.
Sad story.
That is Daily Nation for you. Tuangalie.
Maneno yako hapa sasa. Tight corner. That's the story on the front page of the Standard. They say the confidence vote, the deputy president's fate hangs in the balance after a night meeting. Ukisikia night meeting unajua mambo si mzuri. After a night meeting at the house of a senior government member discussed his impeachment on grounds of insubordination and pushing for tax rebellion. Do you think this can work? Now, the thing is, for him to be impeached by Parliament, the National Assembly has to muster a supermajority, meaning at least two-thirds of the entire Parliament. Not even Kenya Kwanza is able to do that alone. But now with the inclusion of ODM into government,
that changes the dynamics.
It changes the dynamics significantly, and raising the supermajority could be possible. And I think now they're seeing like the discussions around a possible impeachment were there earlier, but this time it looks like yes, now they can do it. They have the muscle.
Imeanza kumaterialize. Ile wakati watu, a number of MPs started to going to the Murima, and even the president had to tell them, yes, relax.
But Mbakasi North MP, James Gachagua'S, who's nasema ni mwandani wake naibu wa rais, anasema the impeachment threat has been making rounds in our circles for long, and it is now high time it is actualized as opposed to being used as blackmail to blackmail Gachagua. Yes. Kauli yake mbunge wa Embakasi Kaskazini. The other big headline given prominence on the front page of the Standard, William Ruto show, president goes all out to woo Kenyans. Now he's doing town hall meetings. At least he's moving around. He's back on top of the vehicles, akisema akitenga hili na lile.
Anafa rudi express tena by the way.
But at least the first town hall meeting happened on Sunday evening in Mombasa, and that's the image they've used there on the front page of the Standard.
I love the image that walitafuta ile.
And he promised to do more of such town hall meetings across the country to explain his plan for the nation. They say it's Meet the People. The president has started a series of town halls where he engages Kenyans, he picks questions and moderates the sessions too. Hapa yeye mwenyewe ndo anafanya kazi. Hataki ati journalists. Yeye anakaa hapo, yeye anasema haya, uliza swali, anakujibu. Hivyo hivyo. I think it's a good thing.
But then again, the accountability of it, who exactly is asking these questions if you don't again have the journalists there?
Well, they are also Kenyans, and they have a right. Whether they've been picked, they're still Kenyans. I think Paul Kagame does a lot of this.
Yes, I was actually to tell you that. Yeah, yes, so it's a whole Paul Kagame style.
Yes. After CSs, Ruto to axe to land on MPs, on PSs. Yes, PSs too are on the line for reorganization, and they call this now Mbadinomics. Yes, the nominee for CS for Treasury, John Mbadi, now it's called Mbadinomics. Will he thrive? They ask that question. On the top strip, way to a man's heart has never been spaghetti.
Has never been spaghetti.
Interesting story on page 3.
the fact that umeweka page 3, that means that's a big story.
It's a very big story. It's an interesting story. It's about marriage and divorce, and people have decided, mimi hiyo chakula unanipea, wacha ikae. Why Latinos could swing US elections, that's the story on page 35, international scene. Kamala Harris anafanya ile mambo upande ile ingine. Pipeline to Kampala in the works. And finally, rough ride for Malkia at the Olympics after they lost to Samba girls from Brazil. That's the Standard today. And I think we are done with the Magazeti and the big headlines. We can now focus on
the cartoons.
This one is from the Daily Nation.
Yes.
And he talks about this discussion around what's happening with JKIA and all other airports in Kenya. So they have this picture of an office that is already underwater, and it has Gate B there, meaning this is the airport.
Yes.
Now on a steamer, that's why they use the lantern. And you can see a plane on the other side on the tarmac already. But there's this announcement here: bid to occupy Kenyan airports for the next 30 years. This is by Adani Airport Holdings. Yes, reference made to that controversial deal for the running of JKIA. And as reports have it, not just JKIA, but all other airports probably in the country. That's a cartoon on the Daily Nation today.
On the Standard, stories are Gamzo. They have two gentlemen there, the Senate as well as the National Assembly. And this has to do with the conflict of interest bill. Yes. Na wote kuna vitambi zingine kubwa, and the commentator anauliza pale, this is the pot calling the kettle black.
Yes, because you see they have their fingers pointed at each other.
Yes.
Kila mtu anasema you are wrong on this, you are wrong on this. These are the legislators, so if they actually pass it, they cannot
blame anyone else.
Yes, that's a cartoon on the Standard today.
Yeah, the Star.
Kuna jamaa ameruka hapo.
Ameruka watu.
Ameruka watu literally. Ameruka Gen Z. Ameruka watu wa Azimio. I can see kina Matakarua pale.
Kwanza
even Wajakoya.
Karikacha Wajakoya imetokea as
amewaruka. Hii ni ile long jump.
This is Kenyan Olympics.
You jump to the other side.
Where? Na tamak ni ya orange, alafu imeenda sijui tunaona.
Watu wamebachwa wameshikwa na butwa. Hawajaiona jamaa amewaruka hivyo.
And finally, a People Daily. Huyu jamaa anaruka watu, ako hapa bado. That caricature.
You know, when you look at a fruit that has things protruding from it, nakuanga usually worms. But now they have this cartoon of 2 frames, an orange, that's the ODM orange in 2007, and the OUDM orange in 2024. Same man inside the fruit. We have a caricature of the president and the ODM leader there, and it's the same in 2024. That's how many years apart? 17 years apart. Story ni ile ile. Alafu commentator anasema amazing how politics works, because that's the reality of politics.
Oh yes.
And this the forest remains the same, but the monkeys
zinabadilika.
The monkeys wanna change. Hapana, monkeys are remaining.
Monkeys remain.
Forest will change. The forest has changed, but the monkeys are the same.
Oh yes.
Yes.
And we'll be discussing this and trying to see 17 years later what has been different with members of parliament and some former members of parliament on the state of the nation.
Oh yes. And whether or not the political class has managed to steal the revolution from the younger generation, as it were. Yes, this will be our main discussion today with MP David Kiplagat from Soi and former MPs Jude Njomo and Bwana Mutambo from Mwingi Central. Do stand by for that conversation and a lot more coming up later on. You can be part of this through our social media pages on X at TV47 News and on Facebook TV47 Kenya. My X handle is at Fred Indimuli.
And _. Coming up at around 8 a.m. matters Biashara Tuesday, discussing smart investments. How do you make sure that you accumulate that whole wealth and invest it rightfully to the right places? Coming up at around 9 a.m. some agribusiness. You definitely don't want to miss all that. You're watching Morning Cafe. Sibanduke.
with their friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV47 with me, Fred Indimuli. Time for the State of the Nation right here as we take a look at the big headlines. Very interesting and varied headlines today. I think there's really no agreement on what the big news is today. The Daily Nation has gone with wastage in the budget-making process, the Standard on the Deputy President's wars, and William Ruto's newfound way of appealing to the country. Meanwhile, on... just confirm, yes. I think Taifa Leo goes with the Azimio Mahututi. And the Star, Ruto to slash PS slots and appoint Raila allies. Yes, the People Daily, meanwhile, has taken a different tangent. Raila reaping big from Gen Z sacrifices. And we'll be looking at that later on. But for now, allow me to introduce the guest this morning, Joe Mutambu, former MP Mwingi Central. Good morning, karibu sana.
Good morning.
You were here last week.
Yes.
And it was just a day before President William named the second half of his cabinet nominees. And yes, the expectation was that he would tap some people from the opposition. He finally did. And 4 members of ODM are now cabinet nominees for very big portfolios in government, treasury, energy, mining and cooperatives. What is your feeling about that, given that you are also a member of Azimio through Wiper Party?
Well, I am a member of Azimio through Jubilee.
Oh, you switched parties already.
I've been to Jubilee since
A day in politics is a very long day.
And I'm yet to, I don't just jump parties. Even though Jubilee is almost dead. Very soon I will be announcing my direction on which party to go with. It's easy, I can even own my own, who knows. I'm looking at the whole scenario and what President has done, and I find him in a corner. Because having opposition in your government and the way we structured our politics, our democracy, is that we have opposition in Kenya and we have government. And each has their own role to play to build our nation. The moment you have opposition in your government, you have compromised the opposition. So that means there's no checks and balances in the government. So the work of the opposition is to keep the government on toes, whereby anything government does, including scrutinizing the budgets and anything the government does, the role of opposition. And that office is created in the Constitution. It is there in the Constitution. And their mandate are also spelled out in the Constitution. So the moment you put them in your government, what have you done? You have gone back to tell people it is better to have at least one party. Other parties don't matter. We don't have to have multi-party democracy. We can have a single party and we move on. So that is the message we are getting from the president. The issue of what is happening in the country, it is not the political parties which went for demonstration. It was a totally different group of Kenyans who went. And they represented the views of other generations, right? So when we say we take members of opposition to government to quell or to make sure that whatever is happening has calmed down, it's a wrong move. Because the people who are demonstrating are still out there, right? They never negotiated nothing. So as much as we are enjoying these 2-3 days of peace, I'm not seeing it lasting. Because the demonstrators, they still have their agenda, and they feel whatever they wanted has not been fulfilled. So that's another problem for Ruto in near future. Yes.
But it would appear that at least it's given the president some room to breathe. Before that, he appeared to be in a very tight corner. Now he appears a bit more comfortable. He's moving around. The image there on the front page of the Standard, we see the president in a town hall meeting in Mombasa. Before that, he was basically confined to State House, given the kind of politics that was playing around. So for the president, it has provided some relief, at least for now. That political relief or breathing space is important for the head of state as well.
I will not sit pretty unless I knew or I know something that whatever was happening, it was a ploy or it was a scheme, maybe to kick some people out of government. Maybe. I would rest if I know I have achieved what I wanted. Then you look at the whole thing. Look at Mombasa. What happened when Joe was was appointed? There was a crowd which came to share and to tell the president, thank you, you have done a good job. If you are a thinker, what do you take of that? If there were any demonstration done in Mombasa, were they organized and planned by some people so that they cause chaos, then they come to the government? Come back to Nairobi. Were there people who went for demonstration to fight for other people, right? Because if you tell me there will be no demonstration in Nairobi, that means the person who was sponsoring demonstration has gotten a predisposition and they're happy. So there's no demonstration. They will not send their people, right? So you look at the whole scenario, you can see a hand of other people apart from other, let me say politicians, as opposed to Gen Zs alone. So this demonstration was not about the Gen Zs alone. It was about even the political class who took the opportunity, who saw the opportunity and grabbed it. Because when President Ruto went on its knees to agree to the demands of demonstrators, he gave in a very wide road for people to pass to his government, and that is exactly what has happened.
Okay.
Yes.
So the Gen Zs are knowingly provided space, a perfect environment for a realignment in politics, political realignment. This could just be some of the products or byproducts of a revolution that were not necessarily intended. We are seeing, for example, what's happening in Azimio. There's an uproar, an upheaval. Already 2 parties have indicated their intention to exit. But the kind of working relationship within Azimio, the end has always been near. Do you think that it was just about time that the Azimio coalition broke up?
My opinion, Azimio broke up long time ago. What has been happening is just a PR, public relationship. If you ask Kalonzo Musyoka, who is a principal to Azimio, whether he's there or whether his heart is in Azimio, he'll tell you no. The day he was not nominated as the deputy president, not only, it's not about him. He has a constituency, he has followers. So what are the feelings of the followers of Kalonzo Musyoka when he was not nominated or appointed, or when he was taken through the interview, what is your name, all these kind of things. And this is a man who has been a vice president of this country. He was taken to an interview. What is the feeling of those people? So even if he went there, okay, but his people, the art was not there. It's like a marriage. When you marry somebody and you don't either love them or your heart is not with them, of course you'll be doing other things out there. So you will not give it fully. So to me, Azimio, that is how it was. And I can tell you, during the election, because I was in Jubilee, I never voted, but my wife did. And we were supporting Jubilee. But I can tell you, there was no organization whatsoever at Azimio. At Azimio. So even those people who vote with Jubilee or with Azimio, they'll tell you, those who are not members of either Wiper or ODM, those who came from Jubilee, they were very frustrated. So that was the beginning of the end of the so-called Azimio.
The coalition already outlived its usefulness. Allow me to introduce to the panel Jude Njomo, former MP Kiambu Town. Karibu sana. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Bwana Idi. And I would like to take this opportunity to say hi and good morning to your viewers. And thank you very much for inviting me to this panel.
Karibu sana. I was just reminding Bwana Mutambu here that last week when both of you gentlemen were here, it was only a day later that President William Ruto named the second half of his cabinet nominees. And yes, despite the anticipation that he would include some members of the opposition, what we saw was interesting in its own way. I want to get your quick thoughts on the appointment or the nomination of 4 members of ODM into cabinet.
The president announced that he wants to form a government of national unity. And I think the purpose of such a government is to build a sense of inclusivity throughout the country. But the kind of choice he made, when you're forming a government of national unity, you want to make everybody feel that this is my government. That was what he promised us. But what was delivered was a cabinet that is aimed at 2027 elections. The Kenya Kwanza government knows that it has lost in Ukambani, it has lost in Mount Kenya area, because the promises that were delivered were immediately negated after the elections. And there have been some deliberate effort to exclude some of development projects, to exclude some people, and even the people who were in the government representing Mount Kenya area, the people did not feel fully represented. So looking forward, the Kenya Kwanza government saw that it would be very, very difficult to convince those particular areas. So this kind of selections shows that they want now to change their shift and start now to go to other areas and treat them the way they treated Mount Kenya prior to the elections, so that they can now get their support in 2027.
Out of the 2022 nominees, 6 are from Mount Kenya region. One would argue that probably they were the biggest beneficiaries from that list alone.
This is a repeat of what happened after the elections. After the independence. The Mau Mau went to the forest to fight for independence and to fight for their rights. But like somebody said in social media the other day, the Mau Mau refused to negotiate with the government. So the government of that day, and that is the colonial government. So the colonial government looked for some locals to negotiate with, and those are the people who benefited from the spoils of the Mau Mau fight. Now, here we are. We are told that we have 6 representatives from our Mount Kenya region. Do the people in Mount Kenya region feel that these are the people who can represent our interest? The same thing happened when the Gen Zs came to the streets. They came to the streets because the people in parliament did not represent their interest. They were there and represented their own interest. That is the same feeling that people in Mount Kenya feel about those who have been nominated to represent Mount Kenya area. They don't feel like these are the people who can represent our interest. Are these the people who are going to fight for us? Do they know our concerns and our interests and what kind of development that we want? So they may be there, they may have originated from Mount Kenya region, but unless maybe they change their ways and become closer to the people, we do not feel like they represent us properly. And we could get better representatives from our area.
But looking at it politically, and I think Bwana Mutambu had mentioned this, the fact that it appears that action itself gave the president some space. It's the quality and consequence of his actions that matters now. It would appear that what we talked about, what you even weeks earlier was calling a revolution, slowed down to a great extent after he named this cabinet nominees, meaning that at least for all intents and purposes, it served a purpose there.
Everything must go through a process, right? When the president said that he's forming a government of national unity, that national unit is, you have to go through a process. And what is the process? The process is not you sitting down alone and saying, I'm going to appoint so and so, and because he's a Kikuyu, you say, I've appointed a Kikuyu, I've appointed a Mkamba, I have appointed this, so I've taken care of the Kambas. That process requires the so-called dialogue and sit down and discuss, right? We are forming a government of national unity. Once you open that door, so let it be a government of national unity, whereby if you have any names to read, those names, you have gotten those names through either discussion with some people. If it is Eastern, you know the leaders of Eastern. You can have a cup of tea with them and get 1 or 2 people to represent the interest of Eastern, not necessarily Mukamba. He may be Ameru, he may be from nowhere. And so to come back to your question.
Probably we are misreading the president because the Government of National Unity statement did not come from him. He said he's going to create a broad-based government.
What's
it could be different, probably.
What's the meaning? Just the pronunciation. It means the same. Broad-based, national unity is one and the same. But my take on this government, the president realized that he's a captain and is flying a plane out there. And he found out that all the systems, the plane are not working. The engines have gone off, the flaps are not working, nothing is working. So he called what we call in aviation Mayday, Mayday. Okay? So when he called Mayday, the moment the captain shouts Mayday, things are not good. So he called for Mayday, for people to come and support or help him, or for the airport to be cleared so that he can land or he can crash his aircraft there. When you say that the revolution has died, I don't think it has. Because the question is, how many people are unhappy with this government today who are out there? And when the president was doing all this, he never consulted none, or he never reached out to none. You see, if you don't reach out to your enemies and have a dialogue with them, because I don't think Raila has been an enemy to Ruto towards all this maandamano thing. He was not, because he was very busy trying to campaign for him to get the seat. So Raila was very comfortable with Ruto. So that was not his enemy. What he could have done is to look at, where is my enemy? Did I address the issues raised by my enemy so that I can sit pretty and I can say, now we are good to go. We are all cool. The answer is no. He has not done that. So that revolution, take it from me. Take it from me. It is somewhere boiling.
It will come back.
In a big way. It will come back in a big way. Because he has not reached out to those who feel agitated by his administration. So it doesn't matter whether you remove Juma, Ashe Juma, and you bring Joe. The feeling of the people, it may have some political relief from the region, because the person you took of Joe is not somebody who is naked politically. Joe has his supporters. So his supporters are happy. What about the supporters of Juma? That forced the president to go down there and say, no, I'm with Juma, to cool the tempers down. So the tempers of the people who are asking Moses Kuria, okay, where is he? What is he thinking? What is he doing? So you don't have to create so many enemies, and yet you have more. And then when you do, because when you do things without consulting, you are now making the matters worse. So my take would be that what he wanted to fight for, okay, and you have asked this question, he gave 6 slots to Mount Kenya. And I raised that issue here the other time, asking about the constitutional issue, that did he do what we call regional balancing when you are appointing any key officers in the government? Did he consider that? The answer is no. But what was he doing? My take, and I don't care who thinks about me, whoever thinks what about me. These 6 names were brought in to replace somebody. That number, not the people, but the number was brought in, okay, to attack somebody.
Okay.
Who that person is, your guess is good as mine.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll come back to that discussion about who could be on the receiving end. Allow me to welcome Bwana David Lagat, MP Soe, to the panel. Karibu sana.
Yeah,
I found us discussing the latest developments in government, because the last time you were on this panel, exactly a day later, President William Ruto named the second half of his cabinet nominees, and 4 ODM members were named into cabinet. Of course, the president had already indicated his intention to form a broad-based government, whatever that meant. Some people are calling it a government of national unity. Whether the two phrases mean the same thing, the jury is still out there. But before I come to you, Bwana Kiplagat, Bwana Njomo, the same question. Many people are saying, yes, it is a young generation that went to the streets. But from what we are seeing right now, the beneficiaries are very different. And the People Daily says Raila rips big from Gen Z sacrifices. He didn't have to do anything politically. He didn't have to go out to the streets, yet he's the one getting to nominate people to the cabinet. Are we looking at a stolen revolution? And are you persuaded by what Bwana Mutambu says, that the revolution is still alive, it's just simmering somewhere, waiting to erupt?
But my take is that the Gen Z revolution started as a genetic revolution. You know, the young people just came out, they communicated through their social networks, and they felt that the time has come for them to speak. And after the first demonstration, which was very peaceful, remember, it was very, very peaceful, and it was throughout the country, It doesn't matter whether they have ministers in the cabinet. We had it in Eldoret, we had it in Kiambu, we had it in Mombasa. It was throughout the country. Not for, it is, because we are made to think that the revolution was about representation. No, it was about, and the youth were very, very clear. They want the government to be run properly. They want transparency, they want elimination of corruption, and they want people who are responsible. Now, the kind of cabinet now that has been appointed, it's like it's addressing regional issues. And that is the question we are discussing here. That was not part of what the youth were not talking about. They were not talking about who comes from where. They were not talking about who represents where. They were talking about, we want our money to be spent properly. We want the what do you call it? The bill, the finance bill, to be addressed. We want corruption to be eliminated. Those are the things that they were asking for. But the appointment of cabinet is not addressing the same, because some of the members who have been nominated to that cabinet, we have questions about them. The public are not happy about the history of those people. So are they going to solve the problem that the Gen Zs were talking about? So I expect there will be some resistance in some quarters, and I agree with Bwana Motambu that if things don't change, if the president do not address those issues, this is just a lull in the demonstrations and the revolutions of the Gen Z. It is in incubation. And maybe when it comes now, it will come bigger and even more aggressive, because the youth will feel like, we have told you this is what we want. We thought we have succeeded because you dissolved your cabinet. We thought we have succeeded because you have stopped traveling excessively the way you are doing. We thought we have succeeded because we have eliminated budget for first lady, second lady, the CS, chief cabinet secretary, first lady, and all those. We thought we have succeeded because of that. We thought we have succeeded because you listened to us. But it looks like you listened, but you did not hear what we said, because our issues are yet to be addressed.
But it is possible for a revolution to be stolen. And you gave an example of what happened with the Mau Mau, that the people who actually went to the forest to fight for freedom were not necessarily the beneficiaries. And people who came out and took advantage of the situation and rode with it. Is it possible that that could happen this time around?
I agree with you. That could happen. There are people who are going to benefit from this revolution, and they did not work for it. They did not do anything about the revolution. One of them is Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, and his team, because they have now come to the government. Although now I respect that gentleman completely. There have been 5 governments in Kenya. He has been in 4 of them, but he has never gone to any government through the ballot, but through his own agitation. He will go down in history of Kenya as a person who has consistently been in any government. I read somewhere, one of the participants of the social media activity said that there are 3 arms of government, but that is in paper. But in practice, there are 4 arms of government: the legislature, the executive, the judiciary, and Raila Odinga as the 4th arm of every 4 governments that have been there in the past. So we cannot underestimate his influence in Kenya politics. He has made things happen. But for this particular issue, he has been, and his party, the beneficiary of the Gen Z revolution.
Okay. Bwana Kiplagat, the president's move to include 4 ODM members as, in fact, the top brass of ODM, 2 deputy party leaders, the party chairperson, and the leader of minority in the National Assembly to the cabinet. From your end, a masterstroke by the president?
Of course, you can smell the air and feel that things have suddenly cooled down. I think it was a masterstroke and a solution, and the drug that was needed to bring order in the country. And you can feel, you can even feel the excitement of the of the president when he's meet the people tour in Coast, and he will be going to Western region, and things are being now stable. Maybe on the ODM big win, you know, when the GNC said that they were partyless and everything less, then that vacuum that is created has to be filled. You know, there can never be a vacuum. So I think ODM will thank the Gen Zs for having created for them a space. But more importantly, it is the government belongs to the people, and the government is not for a certain sections of a region or Kenyans. It belongs to all. So the all-inclusive government, at least now, mirrors the whole country, and everybody feels that they are represented in one way or another, and that is how to bring cohesion. And you know, you cannot actually implement your agenda if there is no stability in the country. So having stabilized, I believe now, once we are through with the vetting of the CSS and reorganization in terms of the government structure, then we shall move full speed to implement the plan that we had set forth in the next 5 years to do. Okay. So maybe I think also Raila is a smart politician. Okay. As he has said, Jomo has said here, he has been in 4 governments, not necessarily through a ballot, but may I finish?
Allow me to cut you short because I'm being taken to a break. We crossed the line without knowing. I'm very sorry for that. I'll come back and we'll continue with you. Let's take a break. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe. This is State of the Nation right here on TV47. My name is Fred Indimuli and I'm still in studio with MP David Kiplagat, Soi constituency, and former MPs Jude Njomo and Jomo Tambo of Kiambu Town and Mwingi Central, respectively. Bwana Kiplagat, I know you were saying something just before we cut you short. Please proceed. Even as you talk about the fact that Parliament will be vetting this cabinet nomination.
So what I was saying is that you can give it to Raila. He's one of the smartest politicians that he has been able to enjoy power without actually through the power of the people, because And you see, one thing we all know is that no political party is formed to be in the opposition. Every political party is formed to form government. And whenever there is an opportunity to be in that government, I think Raila has never hesitated to take that opportunity, which is a good thing, and also it brings stability in governments. It brings stability in how we run the country. And I believe if you look at the Gen Z's revolution, your guess is as good as mine. There is no way young people can mobilize themselves and come to the streets without somebody at the background controlling.
You don't believe it was organic at all?
No, it wasn't organic. Yeah, it wasn't organic.
I'm sure Bwana Mutambo would disagree with that.
Yeah,
Bwana Mutambo you had actually predicted that something was coming, and this was weeks before. And I think you were talking to us from somewhere in Uganda, and you told us something is going to happen.
You know, when you feel the mood of the nation, and you are a wise person, you can understand what will happen later. And that's why sometimes I call myself prophet, because I normally see and I do understand. But talking of beneficiaries, and this is where I come in as a prophet, I will not say that Raila is the beneficiary of all this. Actually, on the contrary, it is Ruto. Come outside the box and think outside the box. Okay? And let us not trivialize ourselves on the demonstration in the street. Let us see the whole picture. You will understand the beneficiary of this whole thing is Ruto. How? Before demonstration, Ruto had a problem with his deputy, right? And Mount Kenya also had a problem with Ruto. They're gone. So Ruto was finding a soft landing spot politically. And he looked at which way to align himself. So this appointment of this cabinet, right? It is not just appointment of cabinet or picking the names. It's a coalition being built somewhere. And what Ruto has done, he has seen Mount Kenya, it's gone. Eastern will go with Kalonzo. So what is he left with? With Nyanza and Western. So what did he do? He picked Nyanza, brought close to him, and he claims to have Western, and he has Rift Valley. So if you take those numbers, anybody who cares to think about our politics and the numbers we have in our country, Ruto feels now, if I want 2,000 votes from Mukambani, I'll go and get 2-3 members of the parliament or MCAs. They'll get me 2-3. It will be enough. I'll get this. That is the calculation which Ruto did when he saw an opportunity to make himself control the ground. And controlling the ground is having the numbers. So he views when he has Raila with him on his side, he has the numbers of Nyanza. When he has, although I don't know how much Baba Waroma and Mudavadi can bring to him, but he views he has it, and he is there for Rift Valley, and he has people like David here. So Ruto crafted something out of this quagmire, right? And he saw an opportunity and he went and shot immediately. So that is what he's building. And he looked at Mombasa. Mombasa never fought it with him, okay? So he grabbed somebody from Mombasa. So if Raila will remain which I doubt. You doubt
whether?
Whether Raila will remain with Ruto until the end. That one I am casting aspersion.
It is only 3 years to
I tell you, come 2027,
things will have changed.
Raila will vie, whether you people like it or not. So whatever Ruto is doing, thinking that it will benefit him in 2027, it may not. Because the moment Raila jumps out of that ship, everybody jumps in, including Joe. You will not control Joe. Joe will go with this Raila. So as much as he feels that now I have this region, okay, if he maintains to keep Raila with him within his circles, then he may be having some space to breathe. But when Raila jumps out, as he has always done, they alluded to him being in the 4 governments. But has he ever succeeded in any? He was in Kanu, we all know what happened. He was in Kibaki, we all know what happened. He was with Uhuru, we can see what is happening with Kioni and Martha Karua, what happened. Now he's with Ruto. What do you expect of Raila to do with Ruto? I don't expect him to hold him to the end. I'm seeing him taking a different route when the election is near.
It's barely 2 years since the election of 2022, and for William Ruto, the president, to start reorganizing regionally this early says a lot. 3 years is still a long time, is a long way to go. If he's not been able to sustain unity in Kenya Kwanza up till now, with the kind of problems he's having with his deputy, 3 years will be even harder for him with a loose alignment with ODM, don't you think?
Not even 3 days in politics. It's a long time, and things can happen. And I agree with Mheshimiwa when he says things might change any time. Because sincerely speaking, have we addressed the issues that caused the revolution? Is this RAL, the revolution, caused by the appointment of cabinet? If you remember very well, the discussion between Raila Odinga and Ruto did not start after the revolutions. They were actually talking before. And that is why the deputy president was feeling insecure, and he started consolidating his Mount Kenya area, because he could see that his boss, like the previous boss, had started developing interest with other areas, and he was feeling insecure. That is exactly what happened in the relationship between the previous president, Uhuru Kenyatta, and Ruto in the second term. They started discussing with Raila. The same thing is started happening now. So when the revolution came, it just became a catalyst of speeding up the discussions that were still ongoing. And now the deal has been sealed, though Raila Odinga is claiming that he's not part of it. But like somebody who has been eating meat, we can still see the blood in the lips. We are not very convinced that he's not in this, and that is why that has become a very big wedge within the Azimio coalition, because they feel betrayed, because they have been working together, agitating for certain benefits to the country, and they feel that the ODM has now developed other interests, and they have gone. And that will definitely kill Azimio, and other coalitions will start to form. So my hope is that Parliament, when they go to vet these nominees, will not look at regional issues, because that is not what is very important to our country. They will look at the qualities of these nominees to deliver the mandate that they have been given. They will look at these nominees, look at their past, look at their corruption, their affinity to corruption. Do they have past records of corruption? If they have, then they must know that you cannot learn to be right-handed at old age. If anybody has been tainted with corruption, he does not qualify to sit in the cabinet. Okay. Two, there are people in those who have been nominated from both sides of ODM and Kenya Kwanza government, who were part of the cause of this revolution, because of the way they related with the public. They should ask those questions and ensure that they do not give us people in the cabinet who are going to cause other problems, because there will be reaction. People will react because they will feel that these are the same people that we felt they should not be in cabinet.
Okay. Speaking of the National Assembly, and you just returned from recess last week, and with the inclusion of now ODM members into cabinet, it means that the numbers in Parliament, or how those numbers will be used, will change significantly. For the very first time, we are seeing the possibility of garnering a supermajority, if at all members of ODM will support government. That in itself can mean a lot of things, including the possible impeachment of the Deputy President. We'll come to that. But on this vetting process of the cabinet nominees, the possibility that the questions, real questions, will be asked by these members of the National Assembly Committee on Appointments is very low. The fact that we saw in 2022, despite serious questions on the nominees, the party chairman of ODM back then said, let's give the president his skunk. He is one of the nominees right now.
He's part of the skunk.
What happens to the committee when it comes to vetting? Do you really think that serious questions will be asked in that process?
Of course, as you know, in any governments, sometimes, as I said, sometimes we behave as if maybe we live in an utopian society. Running our government is about numbers. It's about, when you go to the public, it's about having as many as people supporting your agenda and the government. If you go to Parliament, it's also about as many of the legislators supporting your vision and your plan and the government policies. And it is world over. It is not only intrinsic to Kenyans. So I will just want to cool the temperatures of Kenyans, that we live in a democracy, and in democracy is about numbers. And as currently constituted, the president has numbers in Parliament, has absolute numbers. So what that numbers will do, your guess is as good as mine.
Yet there were concerns about the conduct of Parliament and how the numbers were being used, and that's why the reason why I say protests were. That's why I say Occupy Parliament was the biggest problem.
That's why I say you run a government, and government has its own policies and its own plan, and government has its own supporters, and if you want, as a parliamentarian, if you want to be as independent as possible, you can also contest on an independent ticket, which is allowed in our laws. So, but having been elected through the UDA party, we always retreat in a caucus. And once we have retreated in a caucus, we take direction. The same way ODM, not Asimio, have retreated to a caucus and have taken the direction to support government. You know, those are politics. If you like to imagine that you have other kind of politics, then that is why I was saying you might be living in an utopian society, and it is world over. Even if you go to US, the Republicans and the Democrats, you know, they'll take a party position and decide. Like recently, they have nominated Kamala Harris. There wasn't a primary vote. The powers that be decided that their candidate is Kamala Harris. So, and that is it. So that is how party politics are played in a democracy. So whoever wants to start another direction, of course we shall, for those nominees who will, of course, their minimum threshold that they need to pass, they need to make sure that at least their record are clean. They don't have any issues in their track record. But your guess is as good as mine that
it's as good as done.
It's as good as done.
It will be rubber stamped. The list,
not rubber stamp as such. As I told
the list will go back to the president as it came to Parliament.
No, of course, sometimes they make blunders. You can get one candidate making a blunder like the one. I think there was when we were vetting the last one. There was one from Ukambani. Was it Malo? Penina. And she had a lot of difficulty based on her performance.
Yet she was still approved by Parliament.
Of course.
So that is your prediction that we'll see exactly.
Through some negotiations. There was another one for ambassadorial, I think, in Congo, who could not understand what is GTB, and you saw what happened. So it is them to lose when they present themselves. So I want to urge them that having been given that opportunity, make sure as they go to the appointments committee, they make sure that they know the issues, they make sure they present themselves well, and if they present themselves well, then the report that comes to Parliament, your guess is as good as mine that 90% we shall agree on the floor.
But Naindi, this is the kind of chest thumping that is destroying our country. Yes, the facts that he's talking about are correct. Yes, we are in a democracy. Yes, we can form any kind of coalition. Yes, we can have super majority. Then he says, then we can do whatever we want because now we have been elected.
They've basically been doing that. They enjoy a majority in the House, and so far we've seen that those numbers have been used in one way.
Democratically. But that does not mean that then you can do the wrong things. That you can appoint corrupt people just because you have the numbers. You can appoint people who are not qualified because you have the numbers. The work of Parliament is to oversight those people. If they are not qualified, if they do not meet the requirement and the threshold, they should be kicked out. But now he's saying, because we have the numbers, they must go through, we just give the president, then he...
Is numbers the only quality that Parliament can offer to the president?
I've said this many times, that I don't fear repeating, that the Parliament we have today and yesterday, it is quite unfortunate that those members, none of them, none, would wake up today and fight for the justice and equality of Kenyans. But they will fight with their strength to please their masters. Right? Bible tells me, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Right? When I listened to Mheshimiwa, and I was here with him the other time, and I told you, when I listen to him, I see where the problem is. When Mheshimiwa tells us that democracy is about numbers and the people coming together, and because they have the numbers, they do what they want. Not what the people who elected them want. Them, they do what they want. And that was the recipe of the chaos in our country. And out of the habitants of the heart of the so-called Kenya Kwanza, when you listen to them, you understand the reason why Gen Zs went out. And you understand the reason why they will come back. And maybe this time they will be joined by, what is the other generation?
Gen X and Gen X.
Yes. Maybe they will join them. And that will be big. The numbers in the Parliament for President to use, it is good politically, like he's saying. But it has to be used in a manner which is helping, and it is good for the nation. Not good for individual or a group or that current government. When we make laws in the Parliament, we don't make them for a particular coalition or for a particular person. We make laws for the country, and it affects and it helps all the citizens of this nation. So I am a bit disturbed and disappointed by some utterances which I heard from my colleague here, saying that whether you like it or not, we have the numbers, and that is how it works. If you don't agree with that, maybe you live in a utopia.
Okay.
That disappoints me. And quoting the American democracy system, appointing Kamala, there was a procedure. Their democracy dictates if you are the president and you step down, the second person takes charge. So it is defined. It is not that somebody said we have the numbers that we have decided, and if you are Democrats and you are down there, it doesn't matter what you think. No. It is designed on how and the process to follow.
Okay.
And you cannot say that because now Kamala was nominated without going to the people, and not understanding that there are structures in the place. Then you transfer the same and you say, now here, because we have the numbers, we are going to do what the president wants, and nothing will change. That kind of discussion, Mheshimiwa, I wanted to, as a brother, for this nation. Right now, the balloon is bloated, okay? And it needs just a spoke of some such words like what you're saying, for the balloon to burst. Some people, even us, you see us here, right? Don't underrate anybody, because nobody knows whose capacity and how far it goes, and what people can do.
Okay.
This country, I'm telling you, is bleeding, and we need peace, not that just thumping, as my colleague is calling it.
Okay, I know Kiplagat may want to respond to that.
I think Honorable Joe, what I said that he knows is he has been in politics more time than I have been. On an hypothesis sake, assuming is in, I'm assuming is in Wiper, just an assumption. If Kalonzo today was to join government, I can tell you the song, if you invite him again, the song will have changed. And that is, no, I'm saying a typical one. It might not be you, but a typical Wiper MP. I can tell you the song.
He has clarified that he's not a member of a Wiper party.
But your guess is as good as mine that they will have to sing what they have agreed in their caucus. So I think what I'm just saying is that I live in reality, and the reality is as Kenya Kwanza side of coalition, we support our president 100%, and our president.
Even when you disagree?
May I finish? Whenever we have issues, the same way I said last time, we retreat to caucus and we agree. And once we have agreed, that is the position we take to Parliament. Okay. So, and those are facts, and those are facts world over. You don't expect me, DK, I'm a new DA, my party leader, we have agreed that as a party, this is the direction we are supposed to go. Then I start yapping around and castigating aspersions on the agenda of government that we have set forth. So, and that is it. Even ODM, you see when we were voting the other day on finance bill, there was the reject, the reject. But now they are properly in government, and I wish we can get another finance bill. So the point is, to set the record straight, the point is the demonstrations and the agitations that came from the young people. It was good, and at the point whereby they were discussing reject finance bill, that was okay. After the president listens and we listened, and we said that, we run a government by listening to the people. And listening to the people, although we had done a lot of modification, it wasn't enough. We said, okay, this finance bill was meant to sort ABCD, which we have elaborated in other places. But the young people have said, okay, no, we can do away with that. Let us reject the finance bill. And the president withdrew the finance bill, which we have done justice in Parliament by actually accepting the president's memoranda and deleting all the clauses, the 69 or so clauses. So at that point, if when you are agitating, you agitate on a specific issue. It is issue-based. At that point, people now develop other excitements that borders on anarchy. And when you saw that excitement and the script that was coming from and the intelligence that we have, it wasn't coming from Gen Z's, other forces. And I dare say other forces within government and outside had taken, had now utilized that route. You know, people use routes. Whenever there's a lacuna, they use routes. So for that case, we said as a coalition, we need to administer. You know, if you are suffering from malaria, you can take Fansida, you realize it doesn't work, you go to the highest quinine. So we said, let us administer this quinine by making sure that we bring ODM on board so that we can stabilize the whole issue, and then we deal now with insurgents if they are there within and without. Thank you.
Talking about the numbers in Parliament, and the main story on the front page of the Standard talks about the Deputy President being in a tight corner. They make reference to the numbers, and that story is on page 4. And they've done a nice mapping of Parliament and how the numbers could play out. They say a Saturday night meeting, and we know the history of night meetings in politics in Kenya. A Saturday night meeting at the Nairobi home of a cabinet secretary nominee opened the tap of troubles ahead of Deputy President Gachagua. The attendants at the meeting resolved to raise a motion of impeachment against the Deputy President. They accused Gachagua of gross violation of the Constitution and gross misconduct. Sources who attended the meeting told this paper that day. Now, of course, boosted by the numbers in Parliament, the fact that they now see, with the inclusion of ODM in cabinet, possibility that those two parties, which are the major parties, UD alone, 145 MPs, ODM 86 MPs, that's already over 230. And now with the other affiliate Kenya Kwanza parties, even without all members of these parties voting as a bloc, it is very possible for this motion to go through. This could be the very first time that this supermajority is employed, Bwana Jude Njomo, and it could be the Deputy President on the receiving end. Do you think it is the right move for Kenya Kwanza? The MP, Bwana Kiplagat, talked about some forces within the party that needs to be controlled or to be tamed.
I think he has put it very well. And even before reading this particular page, by what he has said, that they have just administered quinine. It's like saying that we have found the disease. But for now, we are just giving a painkiller. But we are going to the theater to remove the source of this disease. So we are waiting for anesthetics to be available and the doctors to be available so that we can go to the theater. What does that tell me? That the Parliament as it is right now is not going to solve the problems that the Gen Zs were addressing by their demonstrations. But they want to restructure their own way of working. In 1982, there was a coup in this country. And after the coup, the government structure was not changed. It continued the way it was. But the coup was used to lay blame on certain quarters so that they can be removed from the government. And that fell to a guy who was being called Musaliti that time. And that was Charles Morgan Jojo. And a commission of inquiry was formed, and that was the reason he was removed from the government. And I think history is repeating itself here. The same thing is going to happen. Somebody is going to be blamed on these demonstrations. And I can see the political fingers of KK is pointing at the Deputy President. And he could be the one to suffer from this. And is it the demonstrations that are causing that? No. I had said this before, that when you are selected to be a running mate of a president, there are reasons that make you to be selected. If you look at the history before, when President Uhuru selected Deputy Ruto as his running mate, is because Ruto's persuasion in Rift Valley was very strong. Ruto, if you remember during the yes and no, the banana origin referendum, Ruto solely on his own went throughout the country asking people to vote no, when most of the leaders were asking others to vote for yes. This gave him a national outlook. He had he had following from every corner of the country, and a super following in the Rift Valley. So when they negotiated with President Uhuru, they were negotiating on the background that he's a strong politician and he has a very strong backing. Now come the 2022 preparations for elections. And if you remember, there were a number of people who were clamoring for the second position. Among them was Kindiki and others. But Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy president, took the day. Now, why? Did he have a following? He was only known in his constituency. We in Kiambu did not know him. We did not support him. Did he have a national appeal? No, he didn't, because he was a very young politician. He had just been to Parliament for 5 years. So immediately he became the deputy president. He realized this, that now I have to get my bloc. That will be supporting me. That will be my political buffer zone. And that is why he now started going around in central Kenya to get his following. And I think this did not go very well with the leadership within KK. They wanted him to do national things and not to concentrate on consolidating power within his areas. So that is when his problems started. They did not even start with the Gen Z demonstration. But before the Gen Z generations, he was being blamed that we gave you work to revive the coffee industry. The coffee industry is not yet up. So to me, these demonstrations may result, as we can read in the papers, and these are very good WikiLeaks, telling us now they have started doing their caucuses, their meetings, and planning for the downfall of the deputy president. And it is very sad that now they have the supermajority. If your analysis is correct, they need 232 votes to get a 2/3 majority. I think they can easily gain that. And that is very, very dangerous, because it shows us that Parliament, as constituted, will not be voting based on facts and based on things that are going to bring development to our country. They will be voting according to the whims of their political parties, and sometimes those whims do not bring any development to our country.
The removal of a deputy president was never meant to be easy, and it's the same as the removal of a president. But 2 years into, barely 2 years into this administration, members are already talking about the possibility of removing the deputy president. Isn't that failure in itself?
How to move a president? If you go to our constitution, it is so vague that you can remove deputy president simply through impeachment. Does it say you are impeaching him after he has done what? The things which are listed there, I don't think our deputy president has done them, right? Whatever is listed in our constitution, the reason why you should impeach the deputy president or president, I don't think either of them, either Ruto or Gachagua, has committed those crimes, or he has become incapacitated that he cannot run and the office of the deputy president. But like what Jude is alluding to, that our members, the 2/3, will not be looking, and they will not be interested. Even by the body language of our good friend here, you can see he's not even interested to know whether he should follow the law or he should follow what. It speaks loudly that we want to get rid of him. We want to get rid of, we are going to go to the theater and perform that operation. And remove, and you know, it's what you have told us, that you'll go back, you have administered the
I doubt whether you take a malaria patient.
Quinine, as you do other things. But where we are taking our country, we are taking it on a wrong direction. Because if we do this to a deputy president and subject Kenyans to another quagmire, it is just like today, okay? Kenyans are crying. They are saying, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have this. There's no money, there's no budget. And the president wakes up and without minding, the status of Kenyans is subjecting them to election, another cost. And we are saying we don't have money. Because where Pio or Die was, we have to do an election. Yet there were other qualified Kenyans who did not have a job. Mm-hmm. You are taking somebody who has a job already, okay, and remove him from his job and give him another one. Now, even though this cannot happen in Kenya, suppose he resigns today and the parliament does not approve. What have you done to that person? It's only that in Kenya, that can't happen because, and I keep on referring to him because he's here. I will not refer to anybody else who is not around here. They will not do justice to Kenyans when it comes to vetting. They will just, for lack of a better word, they will just rubber stamp what the president has given, and that will be it.
Okay. The concern, Bwana Kiplagat, is that the numbers now that some people or some sections of government could be salivating over in the National Assembly could be misused or used in ways that many people don't see as fair. Let me just look at Article 150 on the removal of Deputy President. There's a Constitution of Kenya. The Deputy President may be removed from office on the ground of physical or mental incapacity to perform the functions of the office or be on impeachment, what they're considering now. On impeachment, 1, on the ground of gross violation of a provision of the Constitution or any other law. 2, where there are serious reasons to believe that the Deputy President has committed a crime under national or international law. Or 3, for gross misconduct. Now, gross misconduct could be, then you're directed back to Article 144 on the removal of the President, which is the same way. And that's where the numbers come in, a majority. That one is already, we've already crossed that line. But those are the concerns.
Maybe so that I might not be misquoted as having alluded to that there is any imaginations to bring a vote of no confidence on the Deputy President. I said there was a problem that we discovered after we were through with the reject finance bill issue, that other forces within and without were using the agencies to pursue their narrow agenda of actually a coup. And that's why I said when a patient is suffering from malaria, maybe I should tell Jomo quinine is not Panadol. It is the last drug that you administer to a patient who is suffering from malaria, and if that drug fails, then you know the consequences. So we agreed to administer that quinine by bringing in the ODM wing of government, so that we form a government of national unity, and that is flat as that. Now, something also I should state is that my pay grade does not allow me to discuss the conduct and the removal of Deputy President. That is not my pay grade, you know. I can only discuss. But
you've mentioned something about forces within a government that were blamed for influencing or fueling the agitation. Is there a push to deal with those forces going forward?
Of course, I say the administration of the quinine, as you can feel the hair, it has actually flattened. Now, what we do with those insurgents is up to the powers that be to, you know politics.
So they've not been dealt with as it is.
You know, one day is is a whole kilometer in politics. So the information is there in black and white.
But they are yet to be dealt with.
They are yet to be dealt with.
Okay.
So what the powers that be decides how they want to deal with, maybe we shall cross the bridge once we get there. But for myself, given that the president is my party leader, the deputy president is my deputy party leader, my pay grade doesn't allow me to discuss the conduct.
What do you say to this headline? They talk about your colleagues, 21 of them, in a night meeting. Were you aware of such a meeting?
Of course, there are so many meetings that happened, and whichever the agenda, you know, people caucus and caucus on. Sometimes they even caucus on how to get a tarmac to their place. But somebody will come out and say that they were planning ABCD. So unless you are in that meeting, let us not aspersions on what they were discussing. Maybe, you know. And let us also be factual. Where we are as a country, it wasn't the creation of Kenya Kwanza government. The problems that we are facing, it is only that we are at this moment, we are the doctor that is trying to treat the patient called Kenya. But we didn't create all the problems. These problems of affecting Kenya has been created since we got independence in 1963. The colonial government gave us their problems. We inherited those problems. We have been inheriting problems from government to government up to right now. And let us be factual.
We're dealing with the problems within Kenya Kwanza right now.
So, yeah, that's
the possible impeachment of the deputy president.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a creation of Kenya Kwanza.
Which one? This one?
The possible impeachment of the deputy president. We cannot say this is a problem created by a different administration.
Has anybody ever discussed the impeachment?
It is the headline. I'm actually just borrowing from the headline. It's page 4 of the Standard today.
Okay, you know papers. You know, somebody said the papers are good for wrapping meat at the butcher. So maybe those are part of the shouting.
As we continue discussing this, it looks likely that debate is now shifting towards who the running mate for William Ruto will become 2027. Do you see that direction?
You see, just to continue with the narrative that he has said here, that they want to deal with who was funding or who was causing the demonstrations. And my question would be, these demonstrations, what were the issues raised? Were they illegal demonstrations? Yeah, the government said the demonstrations are not illegal. The first demonstration was very peaceful, and they came very clear. They said, we want IEBC to be put in place. Was there a reaction to that? Immediately, the bill that has been passed, but it has not been signed, was signed, and that was going on. The office of the First Lady and other ladies were put away. The multiple travels that were happening stopped. And what was the other thing? There are many things that they were requiring, and they have been put in place. So the youth had a strong, very strong agenda, and the powers that be listened to them. But because now they went further for other demands that were very, very, very strong and very difficult to achieve, a new wing of demonstration was introduced. We saw people associated to the government distributing money to counter the demonstrations. We saw demonstrations in Eldoret and oathing ceremony being held openly with people who were like equipped with uniform rungus and what do you call them? These sticks, you know, demonstrating on the streets to counter the demonstrations, and they looked like they are people who had been organized by some forces. So our question now, because we have come through a very difficult period, it would be, how are we going to form our government so that we do not have a repeat of this? Are we going to address the issues that these demonstrations were called for? When we bring Bandi to cabinet, and it's the same guy who in Parliament was very vocal against the government. In fact, I'm wondering, when he's go to the cabinet and they are having discussions, what is he going to tell the president? That these people who I called skunks the other time, I have come and I have ideas of how to sanitize them so that they are no longer a skunk. What is Joho going to say in the cabinet when the few months before he was saying, I have never seen somebody who is corrupt like this person, and that person is within the parliament? How are they going to discuss? It's going to be very, very difficult. But I hope, and I'm hoping against hope, that we are going to have a soul movement within this Hurabaru, that those people who we are seeing and they were very corrupt, very negative, are going to change, and we are going to change our country. But from the things that I have seen, I remember the president said we are going to remove Harambes from our churches. Then even before the smoke is over, he goes to a church and promises some funds to the church. You know, we should come to a situation where we are saying things, we are making promises and keeping them. Okay. We need to sanitize, we need to wash our politics, we need to have clean politics in Kenya.
You wanted to say something, Manaki Plegat?
I think I wanted to do an interjection on what he has raised about oathing in Eldoret. I think those are now what we refer as fake news. Okay. There has never and will never be oathing in Eldoret, and I think if there is a place that people have learned their hard lessons is within the North Rift, that is was in Kishu, following what happened in 2007, 2008. So for Honorable Jude to try to take us there that there was oathing, I think okay. If people come together, may I finish that one first?
I don't want to drag that discussion for too long.
Yeah.
It's a dicey area to get into.
Yeah, so the fact is there was no oathing. Okay. If people come together to do a choir, just a song, you sing everywhere. Okay. When 10 people meet and they sing.
Okay. And I think so we moved from what we were talking about, and that's the front page of the Standard. And the issue, the position of the deputy president, the president's running mate come 2027, if we get to that. I know it's 3 years away, but it would appear that's the biggest discussion right now.
Yeah. So maybe as you realize the dynamics that is happening within the political space, 2027, I believe everybody in this table knows that there will be a lot of configurations. The configuration that we had in 2022
has expired.
Won't work in 2027. Those are facts. What we are praying is that I've seen in the headlines that BAMBA has finally forwarded ECV proposal to be the chairman of the AU, which we really support as a government, and all Kenyans of goodwill wish him well. And I believe if we can, so that, BAMBA has become an old man, which we need to get him somewhere to
ahead of 2027.
Ahead of 20, yeah.
So, but Abutambu doesn't believe that will happen. He believes that something will change. As you make your final remarks, because I think we only have like 7 minutes or so. Yeah. You could make your final remarks, then we go around.
Yeah. So maybe what I want to say is that now the government is well structured. We have appreciated and accepted the government of national unity for one fact, that it brings all the people together so that we can be able to run a government. The only thing we need to learn, and I think sometimes in a political environment you need to learn lessons. The lesson that we need to learn is that, one, we need to relook at our constitution. There are some seats that need to be formed, because even if we like or not, we shall form them anyway. One of it is the leader of opposition in Parliament. The second one is the Prime Minister's seat, and the third one is the regional balance and GNU, to make sure everybody is formed. And then the question as currently constituted within our constitution, do we envisage that we need to have a deputy president that is so difficult to remove? That is something we need to ask ourselves, because we saw it during the Uru's government. We have now seeing there's something wrong with this seat of deputy president, but that we need to relook, so that maybe we go to the Nyayo era where saa saba uko na job. No, that is my only view. So that we also don't get into a discussion whereby we are discussing the role and the powers of the principal assistant to the president. I remember in Nyayo era, a vice president, you used to take not more than 1 minute when you want to invite the president. Okay. Unasema tu hawa Wakenya wanakupenda, karibu wahutubie. And it ends there,
Bwana Mutambu, final.
lives keep on changing. And we cannot live the life of our ancestors. We have our life, and we have to live currently, not in the past. All right? So whatever was being done then is not what you expect to do today. And I have a problem when somebody says something and then he does opposite of it. I have a problem with that. And I don't know whether it is a nature for certain people or group of people or from certain region to keep on lying. Huh? When you say something on of national importance, then tomorrow you do something totally different from what you said. What do you become? You become a liar, and people will see you that way. There's nothing which is impossible for a man to solve, or for a group of people to solve, right? Most of us were not there when Ruto and Gachagua became together. Who are not there? And that discussion which they had, if there was any problem with Gachagua, they could have sat down and iron out the issue. Mheshimiwa here has told us that his pay grade or his paycheck does not cover some certain areas. But when he continues talking, he dives in there. Mm-hmm. He dives in that, in that area where his paycheck does not cover. Because when he says some people, there's nothing like some. When you say some, you know who are you referring to. So he has dived in that they have to sort out that problem.
I have not mentioned anyone. So, I don't know
what is that problem which we are solving and we are not mentioning it. We should be broad enough, okay, and say so and so is bringing trouble to our coalition or to our government, and he must step out, or we are going to impeach him. You don't say, my pay grade does not allow me to discuss that. At the end of the day, if there will be a vote, you will be taking it. So, and you will be, you will be in that situation. Okay. So what am I saying? That we are in this problem because of poor management of people. If you mismanage people, you will always have a problem. Okay. And that is where our president has found himself in. Mm-hmm. How many people has he mismanaged? Mm-hmm. How many people has he mishandled? That is where the problem. And I remember him when I say people say this and they change. I remember him saying that he would never.
His 2 minutes also. Yeah.
He would never want to see his deputy president being treated the way he was treated. But look at the comparison. Who is treating who, how, and how he was treated. Okay. So it's good to be truthful and say it as it is.
Thank you, Bwana Mutambu. Final word.
Thank you. I like the way the discussion is going, because Bwana Kiplagat here have just said that they want to introduce certain positions in Parliament. And it reminds me of BBI. The Kenya Kwanza government was the strongest opponent for BBI. Now, all the, apart from 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote, all the other proposals by the BBI are being delivered by Kenya Kwanza in piecemeal, including the position of Prime Minister, including the position of leader of opposition in Parliament. Because if you remember, in the former dispensation, the leader of opposition was also running as a member of Parliament. So if he failed, then he would become a member of Parliament and then become the leader of opposition in Parliament, as something that was negated by the current constitution. Now, that was one of the proposals of the BBI. They want to bring it back. Everything that they had said they are not going to do, including working with Muganga, they are doing it now, you know? And they had said they would never do it. We have seen so many things that were promised, but they are not being delivered. So we are noting that, and we are not going to forget that. But my hope is, because Kenya is our country, and we do not want our country to go to ruins, my prayer is that people are going to change the way they do their ways. Okay. If you look at what is happening today, presidential meetings now are starting to go town hall. That has never been a way of politics before. But we know exactly what is being avoided because there have been a lot of shouting of must go, must go. So when you go to a town hall, you must be vetted. Yeah, so you see people just sitting there. They don't know whether to clap or not to clap. So because they are being controlled. It is very, very difficult now to do like open barazas, even especially in certain areas, because you don't know how the people are going to react. So my hope is that the Kenya Kwanza government, led by President Uhuru, is going to change ways.
President Ruto.
By President Ruto. We have been Uhuru for so long. By President Ruto, we will be able to change the things that are agitating people, so that we can move forward. Okay. We do not want acrimony. We want a country. Kenya is an epitome of a good country in Africa. We do not want to change that.
Jude Njomo, former MP Kiambu Town. Asante sana. John Mutambo, former MP Mwingi Central, and David Kiplagat, MP Soi. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time at TV47 and for your very well-considered opinions on the issues we've discussed. Tight corner, the big headline on the front page of the Standard today, and an image of the Deputy President there, looking a bit concerned. Well, those are just the big headlines, and we'll continue with these discussions. A lot more coming up after the break on Morning Cafe. Do stand by for that with my colleague Stanley Nyaringita. My name is Fred Indimuli. Have a lovely day.